Hey guys, Software Dev Jason here. So I started working on the swing arm for the KTM 65 and started stripping everything off of it, the brakes, taking the rear wheel off and all that, and the little brake line guides and all that stuff. Just all little stuff so I can prep it to get painted. So when I started moving around, these little dust seals for the swing arm bearings just started falling out, and which you know, kind of confirmed my suspicion that these had been getting a lot of water to them. These aren't very pliable at all. They're really dry rotted. They could break if I squeezed it hard enough. Yeah, so the bearings weren't protected, but the problem is there's rust in there on them, so you know that there's been water getting in there. But if you can tell, when I pulled the other dust caps off, the little needles and pieces of the bearing just started falling out everywhere, so everything was broken. So the bearings were shot, so they definitely needed to be replaced. But the good thing is we got a whole new set here. Yeah, so that's much nicer, huh? Yeah, it all looks nice. So we'll get to that after it's painted, so we're not going to be dealing with that right now. Let's talk about how I want to get these out. Yeah, so those bearings are pressed in there, and obviously all the little needles are gone. They all fell out. But the sides of this are seized in there pretty good. The sides are busted, so they've kind of collapsed and just rusted in two. So it's going to be kind of a challenge to press that out. So I'm going to hit it with some PB Blaster, and like I said in the previous video, one of the previous videos, I don't have a press. So I did kind of come up with a little contraption here where I've just taken I believe this is about 5 or 6 inch piece of all threaded bolt. It's a hex bolt. I think it's a 3/8 inch bolt, and a 3/8 inch nut on the end with 4 washers. And so what I've done is found a socket that will fit in the inside of the swing arm here and rest on the outer edge of the bearing. And I found another bigger socket that'll sit on the outside. And so my hope is that I can tighten down this side here, or either side, and this socket will push that old bearing into this socket. 24mm socket there, and this side is a 19mm. So I'm going to give that a shot and see if that will actually push that bearing out. They're seized in there pretty good, so I hope this works. Alright, so a quick update on the swing arm bearings. I got them out. As you can see, they're pretty rough shape, but the fashioning the little tool to press them out, you know, with a wrench, with a bolt and sockets on the bolts, didn't work. The head of the bolt snapped, so a 3/8 inch bolt is apparently not strong enough for bearings that are seized into the swing arm. These were pretty bad, and they were basically welded in there. What I ended up doing was actually taking the torch to them, getting them really hot, and then just beating them out with a combination of a screwdriver and some chisels and some punches and the socket. I did try to knock them out with the socket as well. So the combination of those things finally got them out, but man, they were a pain to get out. Next item for painting is the foot pegs and the swing arm. The swing arm was originally painted like a gray, yeah, some kind of bluish gray color, or whatever the stock color is for the KTMs in 2007. That's what that color was. Someone had painted over it with a black spray paint. I think it was 1 coat of cheap black spray paint. When I was prepping this and sanding it down, I got almost all of the black spray paint off. It came off super easy because it wasn't a very good paint job on it. But I couldn't get down to the metal, and nor did I really want to. The the original paint is a pretty strong paint. I hit that with sandpaper, and it took a lot to get through that original paint. So I roughed it up in most places, But I left the stock paint. I pretty much stripped off all the black spray paint that someone had put over it. Cleaned it up, wiped it down, and I just put a coat of primer on it. So we're moving right along with that. The other thing was these foot pegs. The paint, the original paint, was only wore off on these teeth here on the top, where you would expect to wear, and where the spring in the inside was would hit, you know, when you'd flip the pegs up and down. So the original paint was on there, and it was still on there pretty good in most places. So what I did was I roughed it up, and I just painted over it. It's just primed right now. I'm gonna look at getting some foot pegs that are aluminum, or maybe anodized aluminum or something. I don't really like the painted foot pegs. You know, no matter how good of a spray paint job I do, that's going to wear off. That's going to be the first thing on this bike to wear off. I don't really like the idea of painting them. We'll see. We'll see. I know foot pegs are kind of pricey. These parts are all going to be I'm going to use Rust-Oleum metallic, and this is the silver metallic. So we're going to give that a try. All right. So another quick update. I cleaned up some more of these aluminum parts that were originally spray painted black. That's the top triple clamp there. That's where the handlebar mounts go. And these are adjustable mounts, by the way. That's where there's 2 holes there. You can adjust the height and stuff of the bars, or move them forward and back. This was the steering stem. I had this bearing pressed off a couple days ago by the Kawasaki dealership. This lower steering stem, or this lower triple clamp, was spray painted black as well. But as you can see, I have cleaned that up a lot. And actually, I didn't have to do a lot of work here. I didn't even use the stripper to do this. I soaked it overnight in Purple Power because the stem itself was caked with really old grease and stuff. So I set the steering stem in Purple Power overnight, and when I took it out the next day, I was able to wipe off most of the paint. So I took a Scotch-Brite pad and scratched the rest of the paint off. Here's a few little spots there, but I'm not going to worry about them. So I think since the frame is done, I'm going to go ahead and pack that lower bearing full of grease and bag it up in a plastic bag and go ahead and get that one pressed on. I'm prepping this frame for when I'm ready to put back together. So one thing I have to do is, since I'm installing new steering stems, I have to remove these old races. I've already removed this side, and now I have to remove the race from the other side. The bearings that I got, they came with new races, as they usually do. So I got to remove these old ones. And you can do that. There's specialized tools for that are expensive, but I'm just using a punch and a hammer and tapping. Alright, there it is. Okay, so this is going to be the wheel that we test stripping this old black spray paint off of. So basically the only thing that I've done so far is I've removed the tubes and tires. It didn't have a rubber band around this. It actually was duct tape, so it was a sticky mess in here. Also, we found there was a missing spoke right there that was full of black caulk, so you couldn't really see it, but we are missing a spoke there. And I also took the bearings in that center sleeve out. This side over here of the hub kind of worries me a little bit, because the 65 bearings they're not behind like a normal dust seal, like on front tires and a lot of rear tires. They're kind of just exposed, and what worries me about that is that it doesn't fit down in here really securely, because it'll actually fall out on its own. So I don't know if this hub is kind of expanded a little bit on this side. I'm not sure. This side it was more pressed in, the bearing was. so I basically had to heat the hub and knock it out with a punch. But on this side, it pulls right out, which worries me a little bit, but it's obviously been like that for a while, and it doesn't look like it's in bad shape inside the hub. So what I'm going to do now is I've already cleaned it with Simple Green and kind of scrubbed all the dirt and grease off of it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray it with paint stripper. So this side of the hub where it's been spray painted black, and the entire rim, I'm gonna spray with the stripper. I'm gonna let it sit for 15 minutes, and then I'm gonna go ahead and hit it with the pressure washer and see if I can get that old black spray paint off. I don't know what the conditions are of the rim is under the black spray paint. I'm hoping it looks somewhat decent, but we'll see.